101.5. This is your news at noon, and I'm Kayla King. Coming up after the break, these are the stories we are tracking. Guy Oil GM resigns amidst fuel scandal, says it was he who reported matters of concern to the board. Finance Minister calls in Auditor General to probe allegations. Despite no regulations adequate manpower, EPA assures safeguards in place for all chemical storage or treatment facilities within oil sector. Patterson and Adams fraud case. Court awaits contract for new Harbour Bridge feasibility study. And 2 pensioners charged in separate forgery cases. Do stay tuned. Welcome back, and now for the news in detail. Less than a year after his appointment as general manager of Guy Oil, Trevor Basu has resigned from the job amidst accusations of corruption involving the illegal sale of fuel. Basu indicated that what is being peddled in the public domain is in fact propaganda, being advocated by persons within the oil company who are in fact involved in questionable actions. He called the reports a smokescreen to deflect from the issue at hand, with regards to the specific allegations being made in public that he collected a suspected $600 million kickback from an ex-police rank for the purchase and sale of fuel. Basu said he does not know the man. According to Basu, the man was in contact with some of the other Guy Oil personnel. Now let's tell you, Guyana's petroleum industry has led to an increasing demand for facilities which can properly store toxic chemicals and or safely dispose of hazardous waste. In response, several businesses have applied to the Environmental Protection Agency for their blessings to construct chemical storage and treatment facilities. What has left some industry stakeholders dumbfounded, however, is the fact that the EPA has granted approvals for some businesses without demanding environmental impact assessments. This has led to concerns that the EPA may be taking a lax approach to the robust regulation required for the new industry. Upon noting these perceptions, the EPA in its latest missive categorically stated that nothing could be further from the truth. The agency explained that all projects are assessed to determine their impact on the environment and human health. The EPA said such assessments entail evaluation of the information submitted, site inspection to validate that information, and collection of baseline data. The agency also said it has a science-based screening tool developed with the assistance of an experienced consultant under a national project, which aids in ensuring its decisions are scientifically sound. In other news, as the fraud case against former Minister of Public Infrastructure David Patterson and former General Manager of the Demerara Harbour Bridge Corporation Ralston Adams continues, the court is awaiting the contract that was given to the company to conduct the feasibility study to build the new Demerara Harbour Bridge. That contract is the one that was awarded to a Dutch company, Levens CSO, to conduct a feasibility study and design for the new Demerara Harbour Bridge between Houston, East Bank Demerara, and Versailles, West Bank Demerara. Senior Magistrate Leron Daly then adjourned the matter to May 3, 2021, and on the date the trial is expected to commence. This newscast had reported that Patterson and Adams are accused of defrauding the state of over $160 million. Meanwhile, 2 pensioners on Monday made their first court appearance after they were both charged in separate matters for allegedly forging limited power of attorney documents. The first defendant, 69-year-old Paul Basdio, denied the charge which alleges that on March 27, 2019, at Charlotte Street, Georgetown, with intent to defraud, he forged a limited power of attorney. Chief Magistrate McLennan granted Basdio bail in the sum of $60,000, and the matter was adjourned to April 27, 2021. The second defendant, 63-year-old Anne Coretta Beard of Facade Perica East Bank, Essequibo, pleaded not guilty to the charges after they were read to her, and she was placed on a total of $40,000 bail. The first charge alleges that with the intent to defraud, she uttered to Marlon Bubaram one limited power of attorney in order to be used as genuine, while knowing same to be forged. The time is now 12 hours 8. Coming up after the break is Heath London stranded in Jamaica and misses second hearing of land case. Linden police join relatives in search party for missing Linden woman. GRA nets over $44 billion from auditing large taxpayers in a 4-year period. And Education Ministry launches new online platform targeting grade 7 teachers. Do stay tuned. CEO Colvin Heath London was reportedly stranded in Jamaica on Monday and missed the second hearing of the matter in relation to the prime state land giveaway at Plantation Peters Hall, East Bank, Demerara. The others who were charged in relation to the prime giveaway are PNCR member James Bond, director of AZ Pharmaceutical Medical Supplies and Equipment Inc., Eddie Dulal, and principal of Arkin Group Inc., Jermaine Richmond. On the first hearing of the matter, while the others appeared in court, Heath London was charged in absentia after the court was informed that he was not in the country. Bond, Dulal, and Richmond were not required to enter a plea after the indictable charges were read to them. It is now 17 days since 21-year-old Shawnette Dover has disappeared without a trace, leaving her relatives and friends less and less hopeful for her return. During the week, they were joined by ranks of the Guyana Police Force Region 10 Police Division in a search party where they combed several communities on the Wismar shore. After hours of searching, they came up empty-handed. Shawnette was last seen April 3rd after she left home for work at the Country Grill Bar, but never showed up. The last family member to have reportedly last seen her was her brother on the Mackenzie shore, who gave her $2,000. Her grandmother, Constance Dover, said she is more worried that despite numerous published news stories and attempts to contact her, Shawnette has not made contact with her family members. She said that all they have been receiving is fake news and several empty leads. Persons with any information about the whereabouts of Shawnette Dover can contact the police or her grandmother, Constance Dover, on the following numbers: 442-1616, 670-6846, or 671-6455. Now let's tell you, following a series of audits conducted between 2017 and 2020, the Guyana Revenue Authority has been able to net over $44 billion from the auditing of its large taxpayers division. This newscast understands that the audits, which commenced in October 2017, saw the closure of 41 cases on average per year. In terms of revenue recovered, GRA said this totaled $4.6 billion in 2017, $26.9 billion in 2018, $8.2 billion in 2019, and $3.2 billion for the January to May 2020 period. The division has also commenced processing value-added tax refunds in 2018, and following an audit was able to recover approximately $1.6 billion to date. GRA, this newscast understands, see This as a major accomplishment since the creation of the LTD in February 2017. According to GRA's records, the LTD was created as part of its tax reform strategy and in keeping with measures set out in the national budget for the fiscal year 2017. The former coalition government, with technical assistance from the International Monetary Fund Caribbean Regional Technical Assistance Center, was able to have the unit up and running in no time. In its effort to expand online learning for teachers and students, the Ministry of Education yesterday introduced a new online learning platform using Microsoft Office 365. This initiative is in collaboration with the Ministry, the Global Partnership for Education, UNICEF, and teams of consultants from the United Nations. This project is a component of the COVID-19 Accelerated Fund project and is a global initiative which seeks to support continuity of learning for school-aged children in the wake of the impact which the novel coronavirus pandemic has had on the delivery of education in Guyana. The COVID-19 AFP also provides hardware, infrastructure, and supporting education through capacity building that will enable educators to deliver to and for their students quality education inputs and experiences that are in sync with modernized delivery modes and the ability to better communicate with these technological natives. Meanwhile, President of the Guyana Agricultural Workers Union, Paul Narain, is warning the Guyana Sugars Corporation and its newly appointed Chief Executive Officer, says Narain Singh, that the practice of top-heavy management will soon run the industry into trouble. Narain gave the stark public warning to Singh on Monday. While a guest on Globespan 24/7 panel discussion with moderators Charles Sugrim and Dr. Askith Rose. Expanding on his position, the GAU president pointed to what he claims to be the recent hiring of some 30 staffers at head office at pay scales above their counterparts in the industry. Narain told the moderators while he has no difficulty with employees getting reasonable conditions, including pay, one has to compare the equality of it. To this end, Narain noted that if we continue to employ people at higher pay than those in the system and established pay grades, we are going to run into trouble. That is my warning. Narain cautioned that Gaisuco needs to be careful and said Mr. Singh, as CEO, needs to take account of that, and to address it, it cannot be allowed to be perpetrated. It will create unfair conditions. It is now 12 hours 26 at this time. We have your COVID-19 updates. The coronavirus cases are now at 143.8 million, whereas deaths are at 3 million, and in the case of recoveries, 122.1 million. On that note, the Ministry of Health yesterday reported that 2 persons who tested positive for the novel coronavirus have died. Their deaths now bringing Guyana's COVID-19 death toll to 273. Dead is a 60-year-old man from Region 6, East Berbice Quarantine, and a 56-year-old man from Region 10, Upper Demerara Berbice. According to the ministry's press release, both persons died while receiving treatment at a medical facility. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health also recorded 71 new COVID-19 cases, taking the total number of confirmed cases to 11,972. The dashboard shows that 13 patients are in the COVID-19 ICU, 73 persons are in institutional isolation, 1,315 in home isolation, and 11 persons are in institutional quarantine. To date, 10,297 recoveries have been recorded. That just about brings us to the end of our news at noon, but before we go, let's head over to page 7, dedicated to being blunt. Every day that we do not receive a reasonable explanation from Exxon about the failure to fix the gas compressor on Liza 1 is another day that we accept an increasing level of disrespect to our national patrimony. That just brings us to the end of our news at noon. I am Kayla King. Thank you for listening.